How do you coordinate it that you all arrive at the same? Because it'll look kind of unprofessional if everybody arriving at different times. So how do you coordinate that?
We often have a set time to meet, which is usually early or before the event. But it never looks bad if I walk in at 10 and we're supposed to be there at 11 and people trickle in between 10 and 10:30.
Okay.
It never really, I never have a client. As long as we're there before the event, it's fine. Plus, I charge travel, right? And that travel, I like to spread out a portion of it to my staff for gas and things if we're going over a certain range. Most times I'll add it in the day rate, but a little bit of working with Ty is if you're not there on time, you're not getting paid travel. So it's kind of an incentive to get people there on time, because you may have somebody on your staff that's always late. Oh, traffic. Oh, like, come on, man. You know you live in that area and you got to go against traffic. You know it's 9 o'clock. You know it's 5 o'clock. Like, if you put it on your calendar's telling you need to leave by such and such. I leave 10 minutes before that. So you have people that's just, they don't plan for life, and you need to have a way to incentivize them to be there on time. And that is one of the methods or ways to do it. What's your opinion on providing a podcast as a service? We come set up podcasts and edit it in audio and video. I love it. In 2021, it's absolutely perfect. There's a lot of people that want to start podcasts that know nothing about it. There are subscription clients now. You don't just do one podcast, you do one per week, per day. I know people that post podcasts daily podcasts. If you had a music studio, you need to be shifting to a podcast studio. If you want to rent out that space or you want to be mobile, it can be done. You see the little booths with the little wraparound. Most podcasts you see on TV, Drink Champs, all that on YouTube, they're wherever they are with a mic. Podcasts don't need to be studio quality audio like singing or like rapping or whatever. So podcasting is a very good business model right now. And then you got to think about the statistics on podcasts, right? Podcast statistics, and I posted these a little while back, is 72% of around that. And the numbers may be somewhere, it's been a while, but like 72% of podcast listeners make like $80,000 a year or above. Like, they're hiring clients. So if I'm a dentist, a doctor, a lawyer, why wouldn't I be there? You know what I mean? And you create loyal clients. So I would go to a dentist's office and say, look, man, let's put out 52 60-second dental tips. We can record them in a week and we can post them for the whole year. We'll advertise your business. We'll keep growing the podcast. People will trust you. They'll come here to get their dental work done. You know what I'm saying? Like, how does that hurt you? You can post it for free. What's wrong with that? Like, how can you lose in that situation? You can't. Then the podcasts blow up. They're getting real sponsors. They're bringing in clients. The sky's the limit. Right now is the time. Quick question about similar camera types. I have an A65-400. I really want to upgrade to an A7 something soon. Will I be able to keep the A65-400 as a B cam? Yes, because the Sonys are similar. They have very similar picture profiles. This is the thing. You don't want the image to change, right? If you're capturing audio on one, you better make sure your B camera captures audio very similarly, because you may not have time to figure it out. You may need to get it, change the volume setting to 3, plug it in the jack. Oh, we're ready, sir. Give me 2 minutes. Boom. You may not have 20 minutes to figure it out, to go from how am I, man, my Blackmagic take XLRs, my Panasonic don't. You may not have that luxury. It looks bad even if you make it through it. I'm telling you this because I've been in a situation where I had to finish a shoot on my cell phone. That client never called me back. It wasn't even close. Everything ain't been smooth sailing and perfect. I learned a lot messing up that helped me get things right. So I'm trying to help you, prevent you from going down that path. Redundancy is everything. So let me guess, your passion is this, and you want to attract this or this, so you can make more of this, but your portfolio or demo reel is not this. I've worked for these companies in the past. When it comes to finding a job or getting the attention of potential clients, a demo reel or portfolio with random clips and music won't cut it. And that's why I created this. The 5 key steps for creating an effective demo reel that converts. It's an online course designed to show you how to market your skills and past experience and create a video portfolio that's designed to blow away your competition and 10x your results. Remember, if you can't tell your story, how do you expect someone to hire you to effectively tell their story? Enroll today at Flashfilm Academy. It's time to turn passion into profit. How do you decide which kind of photography you want to do? How do I find my niche? So I got a whole chapter to this in module 1. And let me talk about that a little bit. There's a few things that come into play, right? The number one thing that come into play when it comes to choosing your niche is, what do you love? Why is this so important, Ty? Who cares what I love? I like shooting pictures of cows, blah, blah, blah. Because you're going to have to talk intelligently to that business owner about this subject. If you don't know it, they can tell and you won't make any sales. Now, flip that. If it's something you love, you're passionate about it, you can talk for days, that will help you close more sales. Even if your quality is not there, they'll take a shot with you because the guys with the good quality say, yeah, we could shoot it. And you were like, oh, look at the light. You know what we can do with that plant right there? And I can have it where it's just, I mean, we can have it. Like, they love that. People love passion. If I got on here and talked like this, even though I'm saying the same things, you probably would not watch this video. You watch me because I love this. This is what I'm passionate about. I can talk about it all day. These videos aren't scripted. There's a title and I come in and I shoot from the hip because I know it. I love it. I live it. It's me every day. Because everything I talk about, I've actually been through. So I can talk about it. I'm not making up a lie where I got to say, and then what you want to do. No, I'm living it. I'm in it. I'm still in it. So you want to pick something that you're passionate about. Keep in mind this. Listen, anything can be monetized. Wait, what? I posted in the Facebook group, there was a guy that was doing maternity puppy photos. Yes, making a good living. Anything can be monetized. Mr. B says, how do you manage new clients' ROI expectations? By putting some of it back onto the client, right? They have to be responsible for what they do with the video, the photo. They have to take some responsibility in that. It can't be just me. We got to work together. Now, if you're paying me to get all of that and you giving me all of that, which includes a marketing budget to market it, whatever they're doing, you can't just say, hey, do it. I'm going to give you the ability to upload it to our platform. I can't control how many people come to your platform. I can't control your conversion rate. I can't control how much traffic and what you've done to get your platform out there. It's not still on me. If you're giving me everything and you're going to pay me a budget to push it, to market it, to worry about your conversion rate and all of it from, from start to finish, then I can take more responsibility in the ROI. However, I'll be more than happy to look at it, but I'm not touching nothing till we got a contract and a check. So when you talk about ROI, even a great marketing company won't tell you exactly what. They won't swallow that hook. No matter who you go to, they'll try to bring you in with something. We guarantee blah, blah, blah. They're really good at what they do, but no marketing company is going to swallow the hook on a straight dollar amount for ROI. That's unheard of. The first company that does that will be $1 trillion company. Companies that come close are search engines. They know how to get you in front of people who are specifically searching for you. So the ROI is much better. Remember, old methods of marketing was a commercial, a billboard. You ride down the street, you see a plumber. I don't necessarily need a plumber on the freeway. It may work, it may not. Who knows? But in the new age of marketing, I can put you in front of everybody that's looking for a plumber in your zip code right now. I can put you in front of everybody who got a freaking smart speaker in their house and I hear them say, oh my God, the pipes burst. I can make sure that as soon as they get to their web browser, your stuff pop up. That's greater ROI. That's the closest we can get. And it happens.
Yeah, but how do you budget? So if they choose a 3-man shoot, how can you charge them for a 4th person on standby if they're not paying for that straight from the proposal?
By making sure that the cost of 3 men includes the 4th guy within the cost of it.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. That's true.
Just like everything you pay for right now includes the 2.9 or 2.2% cost that the company pays for using credit cards. Even if you pay cash, you're paying for it. It's not a cheaper price for cash than credit. It's one price because it's buried into the price. So you might as well pay for it with your card because they already, they're already taxing you the 2.9 or whatever percentage rate they pay. My price for a client already includes that. Whether they pay check, cash, card, it already includes the markup of what it cost me to accept credit. I don't want to eat that. Let the client eat that. When you go to Walmart, you're eating all of the costs for all of that stuff in your average daily item. Even if it's $1, it's some stuff that you're paying $1 for that only cost that client 2 cents, 3 cents, 20 cents. In our mind, we're thinking they bought it for 95 cents and they're only making a nickel off of us. Nah, they're making way more than that off you. You have no way of knowing until you start to understand business and understand that is how you're supposed to operate. Hey, keep in mind that the video you just watched contains clips from a longer lecture that's available to our gold members at flashfilmacademy.com. flashfilmacademy.com. You can go to flashfilmacademy.com to watch the complete lectures if you want to get all the gems and all the information, or you can stay on the channel and continue watching some of our content here. Just click one of those boxes somewhere around here. Just, yeah, you know where to go. Right up in here, somewhere, wherever it pops up, you know what to do. You got this.